Welcome to Balance Black Girl. My name is Les. I'm your host. I appreciate you tuning in. And I'm excited for today's episode because I have a really special guest who I've actually been really looking forward to talking to for quite some time. I'm joined today by Miss Tricia Lee, serial entrepreneur, real estate badass. You can also see her on the current Netflix show Owning Manhattan. Tricia, welcome to Balance Black Girl.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you just because I've been following your journey for a while. I've loved hearing some of the other conversations that you've had on other podcasts, loved seeing you on Owning Manhattan. And I just love sitting down with entrepreneurial people, particularly entrepreneurial Black women, because I feel like there are nuances in how we approach things like entrepreneurship and designing our careers and designing our lives. And I love the way that you've designed yours.
I appreciate that. I really do because it's very intentional and it's something that you have to work at like every day. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Well, I would love to start from the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey and learning what sparked your interest in entrepreneurship.
It was very young. It was like, and I think it's a part of being what they would call bossy, and and a part of being just like a very free spirit. Like my personality is very consistent. Like my babysitter from when I was 5 years old, she follows me on social, and she's like, "Yep, that's
That's
you.
you.
That's
That's her.
Trisha. Sounds about right." So I think it was just I always loved working. I didn't have an issue with working. I always worked really hard. I was always really ambitious, but I did always like the idea of doing it for me. And the flexibility is what I always kind of chase. Like I just grew up in a very structured home with my mom and very structured schedule. And very early on in life, I felt like I did not want to do the same thing every single day. I needed to shake it up. And I also wanted to have more control over my schedule. Like I remember my mom like getting home at like let's say 5:15, 5:20 on the dot. And then that schedule for the rest of the night was the same. And then she was, drop off was the same time every day. And I remember her missing certain things and feelings being like, I have to work, work has to come first so that I can make sure I take the best care of you all. And so those kinds of lessons, I was like, okay, I can tweak that a little bit. So I think as a child, I didn't know what I was making up in my head, but I knew I wanted to do great things, but I wanted to be in control of to some aspect of what I did. So it was just a matter of finding where I could fit that in. And I think in my 20s is when I decided I wanted to open my business and I wanted to go from companies trusting me to run their business to running my own business. I felt like I was ready. Um, and you do that when you're young, you feel like you're always ready. So it was a great time to do it and I did it.
Definitely. I
Mhm.
can relate to so much of what you said about valuing flexibility. That was
Yeah.
something that I learned early in my career. The second I set foot into corporate, and it was like, you have to be here at this time, you have to work for this many hours. Even if I'm like, okay, but I'm already done, I finished my work, you don't have anything else for me to do. So I just have to sit here
Yeah.
so that you have the perception of me working hard. I just always had questions that no
Yeah.
one could give me a good answer to.
Yeah, and my experience in corporate was very much I felt like as a Black woman, I felt I was very limited. I felt like my work drive was appreciated, but not necessarily my contributions. And I also went through a period of working for companies where I felt like I made amazing contributions and suggestions that they used and put completely implemented and just never really just gave me credit for things. Like when I was at Mac, I walked around and I remember like telling like people in the C suites like, oh, we need a Mac store here, we need a Mac store here, and this is the demographic, and this is why we'd be successful. And those things would actually come to fruition, and anyone that worked with me would be able to tell you that. But it was never enough to make me consider it to put me in consideration for the other jobs. And I felt like as long as I am here, they have a say in how far I can go and what my cap is. And it angered me. And it angered me so much that it motivated me to just do my own thing.
Can we talk more about how you take that feeling of being frustrated or angry
Mhm.
about something and channel it into motivation? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck is they feel maybe upset about something, they're experiencing something that isn't fair or isn't,
Yeah.
helping them get where they want to be. How do you then transmute that into something that works for you?
I think my disappointment often kind of performs like anger. And so for me, it was just like, are you kidding me? Like, And I don't know, maybe with some people, maybe it's more of a disappointing failure feeling where I think anger can be a good thing because I use anger to motivate me to show myself and prove to myself that I can do things. I use anger honestly as my lick back. I'm just like, okay, you know what? The conversation is done. I'll show you better than I can ever tell you. And I'm just used to that. I mean, I think like as a Black woman, and specifically someone like that has done different careers, I've I've gone through different eras where like now in life, the way that people are in the corporate setting is just so much more appropriate and so much more ethical. But it wasn't always that way. I have been really mistreated as an employee. I have been spoken poorly to. I have I've shown up for interviews and then I walk in the door and based on what I sound like and what you heard of me versus what I look like, literally had my interview canceled while I'm dressed in my theory suit for my interview. Like I have come here for this interview that's on everyone's schedule and I've been told, we're not going to interview you today. Actually, we're just going to sit down and talk about your performance. And I've had a lot of really just unfair things happen because people are biased. And I think when I was younger, they were able to show their hate in the corporate environment freely. And I would say it in any space. It was allowed and it was permittable, you know? And I worked at that time and I worked through that era, and that does anger you. That angers you because you know that really just because of different people's biases, you're not going to ever be considered for certain positions. You know, I've had people that I've trained, you know, surpass me in roles that I've prepared them for. Um, and so for me, it was like, this is what it is. And how I fight back, I think I use anger to motivate me. And I think you have just to figure out like what can you use in your personality and in your life that motivates you. You know, sometimes it's what you want for yourself. Sometimes it's showing someone else, you know, or others. Like for me, I just have a certain life that I want. And I feel like if you doubt me, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for you to have to recognize and swallow it and be like, oh, I was wrong, you know? And if that's what motivates you, like whatever it is, use it to fuel that fire. And I know that when I'm pissed about something or I feel like I've been cheated, that's the best version of Trisha you'll ever get. It's just the best version because she's unstoppable at that point.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like I always say I grow 10 feet tall,
Yeah.
you know, and then my nerve, my charisma, my power is just maximized, you know?
I think something that I really admire about you is that you know how to use your secret sauce. I think everybody has a secret sauce of those things you
Absolutely.
just mentioned, of our personality, those things that are unique to us. And sometimes it can be hard to know how to use it. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still trying to figure out what mine
Yeah.
is and how to use it.
Yeah.
But in seeing your work, we can see you use it, and it's so inspiring. What helped you be able to tap into that?
You know, I think at a certain point in your life, specifically with women, you have to just set yourself free, you know what I mean? And be okay with how people view you, um, them not being the most fond of you. Like you just have to set yourself free. And I remember like so long ago, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, this woman that I've known since I've lived in New York, actually, she used to be my neighbor. She's just like this amazing individual, Tanisha Barnes. Shout out Tanisha Barnes. And I remember her asking me, like, this was like 5 or 8 years ago. I don't even remember. And she was just like, Trisha Lee, like, I just want to do an interview with you and just ask you, like, what is it like to be such a free woman? And I was like, what do you mean? You know? And that it was like literally after she said that, I kept thinking, oh, I know what she means. I know what she means. And I do think you have to get to a point where you set yourself free. And it's not like, I don't care, but it's like, I know I'm focused, I get it, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And so I think that what people perceive about me is specifically that. And I call that my power. You know, I do use it how I need to. There are times I need to use it to walk into a room and feel big enough, important enough, you know, powerful enough. There are times I use it to soften a situation too. You know, there are times I use it to be the wisdom in the room, the guidance in the room, the this clear head, you know, whatever it is. I think it's just one, kind of taking others down and not keeping them on this pedestal that's just not real, that you've put in your mind. Like, we're all here trying to figure it out. And there's some of us that have it figured out a little bit better in this lane, but we suck in this lane. Or we're really, really good here over here, but over here we struggle. So in the areas that you know that you're strong, like, find a power there, like, find confidence there, and just let it go a little bit. Like, I think that for me, I just got to a point in my life where I was just like, "Oh, whatever." You know what I mean? I'm bad, and I don't care what you think. I know what it is, and you know what? Maybe one day you'll get it, maybe one day you won't, but I don't care. Like, I'm doing me, and it allows me to kind of, like, feel a little bit more free to show my personality, show my sense of humor, to show, even like my quirks and like the things I'm really particular about. I will go insane over symmetry. Like, I mean, you'll just like leave her there. She's gone. We won't see her for a while. So it's like all the things about my personality I accept. I'm okay with it. And I'm also comfortable sharing it. I wouldn't be on a show if I wasn't. Um, because I think there's a lot of just getting over yourself that needs to happen with us and being like, okay, it's fine. And appreciating the differences. Like, I know that I'm very different. Like, I come across very like pulled together or whatever it is. And then you realize I'm actually quite funny and I'm actually quite, particular about certain things. And you know that, like, these are my quirks. I'm also like very domestic. I love being at home. I love cooking. I love decorating, all these different things. But I feel that we're all so interesting. I've never sat down with anyone that I was like, I mean, like, even at work, like, I go and I talk to these brokers and I'm like, damn, every time I have a conversation with anybody, I'm just kind of like floored, and I feel like everyone's really interesting and I feel like everyone's amazing in different ways. You just have to figure out what ways they are. So we're all even to me. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're Ryan, if you're whoever, we're all the same. Like, we all struggle. We all are really strong in different areas. And so part of it is just like lifting yourself up and kind of bringing everybody else down. We're all here, and just set yourself free. And a lot of that stuff is in our minds. And so I read a lot about, having a healthy mindset and having really mental toughness, because so much of what we are all dealing with, we have also all created, and half of it's not real, right? So, to me, there are times I just have to remind myself of who the fuck I am and walk into the room and know that. And I think naturally everyone else just figures it out, because
Right.
you've come in here like you're who you are. It's just like, yeah, yeah. And I think it's important. And I don't think that we have to apologize for that. I don't think we should be made to apologize for it. There are people that are not like keen on it. And I pick that up all the time. Do I have a little sickness to enjoy their discomfort? Yeah, absolutely. I look for it. I look forward to it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because I do think that when a confident woman comes across your path, how you respond to a confident woman says a lot about yourself. I gravitate towards people that are okay with me feeling good about me and me loving myself and me, being big on me. It's important to pay attention to people that are, perturbed by that, though, also, because it says a lot about that individual. And just naturally, we won't gravitate towards each other. Like that, you won't like me. I won't like you. It's fine. But I do pay attention to that, because what does it say about you that when a woman like myself, that's hardworking, accomplished, straightforward, and very dynamic. Like, I can say those things. I don't need someone to tell me those things. Like, I always tell people, I'm like, I've been me all my whole life. I know. But what does it say about someone when they're uncomfortable in that, when faced with that person? Like, it says a lot about that individual. And at that point, I assess that, and you're not even there. So it's okay that people are uncomfortable with it, but I say that more women need to walk tall with their confidence and allow people to be uncomfortable with it. And I think that selfishly, maybe I'm just trying to be that example so that more people are like, hell yeah, you know what? And if it helps, great. But I need it, so I do it. That's kind of where it comes from. It's a selfish need that I'm filling, and I do find that women gravitate towards it. And a lot of men gravitate towards it. And I've also had men that are like, no, that's not my thing. Or you must be, like, I had a guy say the other day, you must be single. And I was like, I'm very much attached and very much in demand. I don't know what you're talking about. But it's interesting to pay attention to those personalities that are like, wow, you're all in love with yourself. I don't like that. Okay, yeah. That's an interesting observation, and there are just people that are going to be that way. But when you're doing the work to love yourself and care for yourself, and when they talk about self care, I really take care of myself. I'm really good to myself. And I try to love on myself and set that example for my partner, for my friends, for my family to see how I care for me.
So here's a beauty secret that has somehow stayed hidden for almost 30 years. And no, it's not just another collagen trend. It's way better because it's called BioSil. In fact, once you hit 21, your collagen levels take a slow dive, dropping by about 1% each year. When I hit my 30s, I knew it was time to level up my collagen game. But here's the kicker: those basic collagen supplements that you see everywhere, your body basically processes them just like any other protein. So there's no guarantee that stuff is going to your hair or skin or nails, which is usually where we want it to go when we take collagen. But that is where BioSil comes in. This little gem doesn't just throw more collagen at your body, it teaches your body to step up and make its own collagen naturally, which is the real win. And taking it couldn't be easier. You just pop BioSil twice a day and get ready for clinically proven magic. Yes, I said proven. We're talking fewer fine lines, tighter, rejuvenated skin, and skin elasticity boosted by, wait for it, 89%. Incredible. So if you want to see the research yourself, head over to their site and check it out. Oh, and before I forget, you can get 30% off your first order with the code BALANCELESS at biosil.beauty. Again, that's BALANCELESS for a solid 30% off your first order or subscription. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product isn't meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases. So, you all know that I love a good drink that is fun and refreshing. So, let me put you on to a new fave, Culture Pop Soda. Picture this: if a seltzer and a classic soda had a baby, it would be a lot like Culture Pop. It's bright, full of flavor, and has just the right mix of complexity and refreshing. But what makes it special is that, unlike most other supposedly healthy sodas out there, Culture Pop is only sweetened with organic fruit juice. That means no added sugar, no stevia, no weird aftertaste, just real simple ingredients like organic fruit juice, herbs, spices, and even live probiotics. Yes, probiotics, so it's great for your gut too. It's basically a drink that you can enjoy any time of day without feeling like you need to second guess it. My favorite thing, since I'm kind of a mocktail girly, is I love to have a bit of Culture Pop in a wine glass at the end of the night because it just feels a little bit more festive. I also love putting it in my Sleepy Girl mocktails at night for a little extra flavor and bubbles. So let's talk taste, because the flavors are so on point. You get real fruit flavor with just the right amount of sweetness and none of the artificial stuff. You also don't have to go far and wide to find Culture Pop. It's sold in over 10,000 stores across the country, including stores like Whole Foods and Walmart, so it's easy to grab a few cans while you're out. If you're ready to try it, head over to drinkculturepop.com and use the code BALANCELESS for 20% off your first purchase. Again, that's code BALANCELESS at drinkculturepop.com for 20% off. Do you ever feel like skincare is all about playing catch up? We stress, face pollution, eat the occasional sugary treat, and sometimes our skin pays the price. That silent toll is called inflammaging, the slow behind the scenes inflammation that breaks down collagen and elastin, making skin less resilient over time. And it starts earlier than you think, creeping in around our mid to late 20s. But Dende is here to change the game. It's the first bio-based skincare line specifically designed to tackle inflammaging at its core. And what makes it different is Dende's unique ingredient, naringenin, which is proven to combat inflammaging 15 times more effectively than niacinamide. So this isn't just another step in your routine. It's a proactive way to protect and sustain your skin's natural beauty. I started incorporating Dende's skin serum in my morning routine a few months ago, and I've noticed such a difference in my skin. It feels more even, more glowy, it's smoother, and it has been such a wonderful addition. With Dende, you're not just moisturizing or smoothing, you're preserving your skin's elasticity, tone, and texture. It's clinically proven to reduce fine lines and keep your skin glowing long term.
Denday's offering 20% off this Black Friday, but Balanced Black Girl listeners can get 25% off at denday.com. That's DEINDE.com using the code BALANCELESS for 25% off from November 22nd until December 3rd.
When you're doing that work, you're proud of it. And that's what you're seeing that comes out, because it took a long time to figure out how to prioritize myself. And I'm proud of it. And I want to be an example of that. Like, I think more women need to do that. Like, I think we're just conditioned to meet everyone else's needs of us and then ours with whatever is left. It's such a broken system.
It is. It is. And I think it's designed to benefit everyone but us
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
To be proud of how exhausted we are for pleasing everybody. It's like so sick. So no, I don't subscribe to it at all. And I've been very fortunate that my mom can appreciate it. My sister can appreciate it. My partner's mom loves it. I remember the best conversation we ever had. She was like, Tricia, I always thought for all these years you didn't like us. This is Jeff's mom. And she's like, I just thought that you didn't like me. She's like, but then I realized you really like yourself. She's like, it took me, she said, it's taken me 80 years to get to a point where I put myself first. I love to see that you have figured that out at your age.
Yeah.
And this is a woman that I was like, oh, I think we have a little conflict. And she was like, no, girl, you don't hate me. You just really love you. And I'm like, that's it, and to know that she's done the work to where she can appreciate that and is not offended by my admiration of who I am and what I've created and what I've built. It's like, it's great to see that at her age that she's breaking those shackles as well. And she's, she explained, she's like, in my era, it wasn't about that. I love to see you so free. This is an 82-year-old woman, or maybe she's 78. I mean, I should say she's 80. Okay. This is a 65-year-old woman. You know what I'm saying?
But that's also such a beautiful testament to her credit that we can grow at any time.
Exactly.
We can recognize patterns that don't need to continue at any time.
Yes. And she's like, I am where you are in your life, Tricia. I have just arrived there. I'm so proud to see you've discovered it earlier, and I think that if there's a movement I'm going to get behind, it's that movement. I know that, because like we're here and I feel like I always say this with my friends, like when we're talking about our parents, I'm like, they did their thing. And quite frankly, like my parents grew up, like they were living their like young adult lives in the 70s. You're not going to tell me they didn't do their thing. I want to do my thing too. Exactly. I want to enjoy my life and create great experiences, love on my people, love on myself, selfishly be absorbed with me, and my happiness and my joy. And that doesn't mean there's not space to love and appreciate and work hard and do for and care about others. It just means that I am number one, and I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it. I want to drag everyone else along.
Yes, we must.
Yeah.
It's something that I think about a lot too. And actually the other day I was doing a live on TikTok and the topic came up and someone asked me about this very thing when it comes to being a woman, putting yourself first, not putting yourself last. And someone was like, well, have you ever struggled with that? And I thought, no, actually I haven't. I always have. And I think part of that is in some ways privilege, but also part of that is I remember seeing women in my family from a very young age be run into the ground and have health issues and be so stressed out and being like, I don't think I want to feel like that.
Yeah. Same for me. I feel like a lot of the examples I saw were definitely putting the men first and, the kids. The kids and the men or the men and the kids. And I was like, you're third? Like, oh God, that's a lot,
And then who's putting them first? Because the men's usually not putting them
No
first.
one's putting
Kids
you
aren't
first.
putting them,
No. And then, you dedicate your life to your marriage and that's great, or your partnership and your kids, and that's wonderful. And then 18 or 20 years goes by and then they're gone and then you've been taking care of the man and we outlive them. And then you're left not knowing or not understanding who you are. And I just think that was that time. And, and I observed that and I was like, I just don't want that. I remember a conversation with my mom that was just so telling. It wasn't very long ago either. It was like 7 or 8 years ago. And I like kind of snuck in town to visit her and it was like a surprise. And then my sister and I were like, okay, where do you want to go, Mom? Like, what's your favorite kind of food? And we shouldn't have to ask that, but we did. And she was just like, oh, wherever you guys want to go. And I was like, no, like, where do you want to go? Like, tell me what's your favorite dish or what's your favorite food? And she was like, I really don't know. I guess my whole life was always about whatever you guys wanted. I don't really. I was like, it made me so sad. I was like, you don't know what your favorite things are? You don't know like what your favorite restaurant is? Like, we're in Scottsdale. You can go anywhere,
Yeah.
And she's like, I guess no one really asks me that. And I was like, well, I'm going to ask you that every time I'm here. Like,
Yeah.
and I need you to figure out what your favorite things are. Like, where are the places that you love that make you happy? And I know that she's a reflection of her time, but that just fuels everything in me to be so free as well, and I feel like I almost have to honor her with that. And I say this all the time. I'm like, the way I exist in the world is just out of respect for all the sacrifices that she made,
Yeah.
and she gets it. She knows
Mhm.
it. Like when I talk my little shit, she's like, that's mine.
Yes.
That one there, that's mine,
Exactly.
And I've always been this way. I was like this in high school. I was always like this. And I think that maybe there's some freedom that she gets to live through me, you know? But I always knew that she had such great qualities, but she wasn't free, And so I'm like, I want to be free. I definitely want to be free. And I feel free now. And it doesn't mean you're not responsible. It doesn't mean you're not on deadline all the time. It doesn't mean you don't, I work my ass off. But I feel free in the choices that I make. I feel free in what I say yes to, what I say no to. I feel free to quit anything, anytime, anywhere when I'm ready because it doesn't serve me, it doesn't feel good. Um, and I also feel free to stay in things because I know it will develop me and grow me in the way that I desire to grow, not what anybody else sees for me, but what I want for myself.
Can we talk about the distinction there? Because I think sometimes that can be tricky for people,
Mhm.
is knowing when to walk away from something because maybe it's not serving you versus knowing when to stay in something where there's some discomfort, but it's for the long-term good
Yeah.
for yourself.
I have understood that for a long time. Like, I remember, I would say 15 years ago being like, I'm not about chaotic challenges. Nothing comes out of it for me when it's chaos and I've got to find my way. You can have that. That's all yours.
Yeah.
Good night. Now I am about growth challenges.
Yes.
And I'm always looking at my personality, my schedule, my family life, my work life, and trying to figure out where I have voids. And a lot of the decisions I make are based on, oh, I have a void here. I really need to develop this area. So if I'm changing firms or changing structures or, creating new traditions within my home, it's because, oh, this is a void that I really want to fill in my life. Chaos challenge is a different type of challenge. And so the way I assess it is if it's a chaotic challenge, it can't grow me. It's just mess. And you're trying to prove to yourself how well you can do with this burden. I, Tricia Lee, don't feel the need to prove that to myself or anyone else because I've had that in every area of my life. And I know what that is. If it's going to grow me, then strap it on. I'm good. Like I put it on my shoulders because if it's going to develop me in a personal way, in a professional way, in a spiritual way, in a physical way, then I'm okay with that. So that's the way I assess it is what is the challenge? Like I've been in work environments where I'm like, this is just chaos. This literally is just about seeing how bad you can actually perform, like how bad it can be and you still perform. No. And there's a time where you need that because you need to develop that in yourself. But that's a time that I'm beyond. I've done that. I'm not willing to do that at this point in my life. And the difference between that is that, I've worked in different environments. I've proven myself. You name it, I've done it. And so I'm looking for the kind of challenges that are going to really develop me as a human being, as a professional, as a stepmom, as a sister, as a daughter, not as how bad can you take it, And I think that sometimes we get lost in perseverance. And that's some shit I don't want nothing to do with. You can have perseverance. Like, that's all you. I'm good, So it's not needed. I remember opening a business on Vanderbilt in Prospect Heights, and my neighbor on Myrtle was like, "Come and be a neighbor in Prospect Heights." I was like, "Oh, bet, definitely." And he opens his business. I open my business. We're next door to each other in Clinton Hill. We're next door to each other in Prospect Heights. His business model, although very successful in Clinton Hill, was not working in Prospect Heights. 6 months, he was gone. I opened in Vanderbilt, in Prospect Heights in Brooklyn, And due to Barclays being delayed for years, my business is struggling. I'm going to persevere. Watch this. For 7 years, I persevered. And Ahmed, rest in peace, Ahmed, was like, yeah, no. Close that baby down in 6 months, completely restructured the restaurant. I think it went from Middle Eastern to Mexican, I believe. That restaurant sits there today, is always packed. I ate there 2 weeks ago. He didn't take it personal.
Yeah.
This isn't working.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Fail fast and move on.
Out of here, and I thought, oh my God, that's the difference. Here I am trying to prove myself. And he was like, I gotta make some money. let's change those,
Exactly.
take the paint down. And he just recreated a whole new restaurant model in weeks' time and reopened and kept it moving. And I was like, okay, that's another business lesson. That is another business lesson, but that's getting wrapped up in perseverance, and that's what I used to do. And I'm just not there anymore. So when people hear me say I'll quit anything, it's like, yeah, because that's where I'm here. That's where I'm at now. I will. And it's not threatening. That's just who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And maybe that's what you need to be too. If it's not serving you, it's not growing you, maybe it doesn't need to be there. But also you have to work to a point in your life where you have those freedoms, right? And it's like I have worked to a point in my life where I do have a say. And that's important too, because I think that some people feel that you just get that freedom. I had to work for this freedom. And I think a lot of people have to work for this freedom. So if I express it and I demonstrate it now, understand I built myself to this point and I worked myself to this point. So I will, say no to certain opportunities, a lot of opportunities, because they're not a good fit for me. But I don't fear that there are a lot of other more opportunities. That's the thing too. It's like, this, I gotta take this. I don't have to take this. Something better is gonna come along.
Yeah.
If you believe that, then that you're not always trying to negotiate your worth. So it's a lot of deep work that needs to happen to understand, how you want to navigate things. But for me, it's like, I'm not out here to prove anything anymore. I was, and I did, but I'm not now. Yeah. Now I want to just do me.
You can't prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you and not valuing your worth to begin with. There's nothing you can do to prove yourself in those instances where people are committed to not seeing it.
At best, you can get used. At best.
Yeah.
And we all know what that, well, I know what that feels like. But I think it's really important to understand what drives you and where you feel biggest and boldest, because that's where the good work is going to come in. A lot of the work that I'm really proud of is the work that I did in the best environments where I was supported and heard and listened to and seen, even if I didn't create those environments for myself.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I would love to talk a bit more about your transitions in business as well. I love that you just used the example of that location that you opened and deciding when things work and when things don't. Because people may or may not know that you previously had a nail business, a beauty business, where you had nail shops that you had owned around Brooklyn. I'd love to talk more about that experience, what owning those businesses taught you, and how that kind of led to your pivot to real estate.
Yeah. I mean, that was really probably one of the bigger professional successes of my life, and also one of the bigger professional failures as well. And all necessary, but the lessons I learned at that time were that if I love something, there's just never enough hours in the day. And if I am over something, it's just what am I doing here? But a lot of running my own business for me, I think, is what has built my confidence, because entrepreneurism is a thing, man. It's gonna make you deal with with a lot of your quirks. It's gonna make you deal with a lot of your habits. It's gonna make you deal with you, in so many ways, because it can be so isolating. And you have to figure out your own motivation on a day-to-day basis, on an hourly basis. You have to figure out how to manage yourself, how to discipline yourself. So it was a great opportunity for me to do it. And I think the positive things that came out of it was that I learned my connection to women. I learned that I naturally enjoyed and was really good at marketing. I also learned that I have a sense of community in Brooklyn, and I feel like the community wraps itself around me. And I feel that I'm very lucky to have had that experience, especially someplace where I didn't necessarily grow up and I don't really have roots. I've always felt held up by my community in a lot of ways. I think some of the things that I learned from the failures were perseverance is nonsense, in a lot of environments. And that failing fast should be the goal. So paying attention to when things aren't working. I wish I knew that then.
It feels like life has been nonstop lately with deadlines, holiday prep, and everything in between. Taking care of ourselves can easily slip to the bottom of the list. But taking care of our hair is one of those things that always makes you feel good, and Nutrafol is a small change that can make a big difference. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1 million people. Whether you're dealing with shedding or you just want thicker, stronger hair, Nutrafol has you covered. I've been using it as part of my routine all year, and let's just say my hair is thriving. The results speak for themselves. In a clinical study, 86% of women saw improved hair growth after 6 months on Nutrafol Women's Hair Growth Supplement. Now, since I started taking Nutrafol at the beginning of the year, I've said goodbye to hair breakage and shedding, and I've had a bit of a hair glow up this year. What I love about Nutrafol is how easy it is to stick to. With automated deliveries and free shipping, you never have to worry about missing a dose. Plus, a subscription comes with perks. You'll save up to 20%, you'll get access to free naturopathic doctor consults, and even a Headspace membership to help you manage stress, which, let's be real, we all need. So if you're ready for healthier hair, Nutrafol is offering my listeners $10 off your first month subscription plus free shipping. Just go to Nutrafol.com and use promo code BALANCEDLESS. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code BALANCEDLESS. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. If you follow me on socials, you may have seen that I'm in the process of launching my new business, Spacious Rituals, offering tools like journals and planners to help you up your wellness game, and it is unlike anything I've ever done before. I am learning so much as I go, and I'm so grateful that I have Shopify to power my new business. Before using Shopify, I was juggling a million ideas, wondering how I'd bring this vision to life. But Shopify is making the launch of my business seamless. It's not just any platform, it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Plus, with ShopPay, I can boost conversions by up to 50%, which means fewer abandoned carts and more sales. And let me tell you, there's nothing like hearing that cha-ching notification when someone checks out. What I love most is how Shopify lets me connect with you all, no matter where you're shopping, from your phone, laptop, or even through social media links. The platform makes it easy to sell wherever my community is scrolling or browsing. So if you're thinking about launching your own business or taking your side hustle to the next level, trust me, Shopify is the way to go. They also have so many resources for new business owners to help you set up your new storefront and get up and running. So upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use at Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/balanceblackgirl, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/balanceblackgirl to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/balanceblackgirl. Fall is in full swing, and with it comes busier days, changing weather, and all those plans that keep us moving. That's why I'm excited to talk about one of my favorite finds, Vionic. If you're tired of choosing between comfort and style when it comes to your shoes, Vionic is the answer. They've got the perfect blend of fashion-forward designs and unbeatable comfort that will make you rethink your entire shoe game. This season, I picked up their Winnie sneakers, and let me tell you, they've quickly become my go-to pair. Whether I'm running errands, catching up with friends for coffee, or heading out on a weekend adventure, these shoes have my back, or maybe I should say they have my feet. Every step feels like my feet are being supported and cushioned just right. It's not just comfort, it's comfort that moves with me throughout the day. Plus, Vionic shoes are rooted in orthotic science, so you know they're serious about support, but in a way that's sleek and versatile. And if you're on the fence, Vionic makes it easy with their 30-day guarantee. So you can wear them, you can take them on your longest day, you can clock a bunch of steps and see how they feel. And if you're not completely satisfied, you can send them back for a full refund, no stress and no hassle. But finally, you can have cute shoes that you're not sacrificing style for. So take a step towards wearable well-being and head to vionicshoes.com, log in and use the code BBG for 15% off your first order. One-time use only, so make sure you make the code count. Your feet deserve comfort, and trust me, once you try them, you'll wonder how you went without.
I also think that growing too soon was a challenge for me. Like I was trying to keep up with the demand, and I think I was just so afraid because I didn't want people to feel like they couldn't rely on us, like I wasn't dependable. And because the business like couldn't meet the demand, I was like, "Oh, I just open another one." And I didn't think about what that would cost me personally, you know? So I learned a lot. I went through a lot. I did a lot. I had some crazy experiences, you know, like I remember being in my store one day and like I was on the sign that was on the like street, like on the flag. I was on the bus as it went by. And then as you walk to the train, I was on the train, on the like the train wall, like as an advertisement. I was like, this is insane. You know, like I've had some really great experiences. Um, but like anything, you know, it's like after a certain time, I was like, I really wanted to do more. And so much of my business was impacted by real estate and the shifts in the neighborhood and gentrification and just overall real estate appreciation. Really paid attention to business owners that own their buildings and how they fared. So it was kind of just like drumming up in me. And so the transition was more natural than you would imagine. Like once you're running a storefront, you're kind of in the real estate space.
For
You know, you have a
sure.
commercial lease, you're responsible for a building. I was responsible for the sidewalk. It was all of those things. So it became a real estate relationship. And then it just inspired me to be more curious about real estate as a whole. I already owned my home. I grew up in a family where real estate was important, ownership was important, credit was important, you know, accomplishing your life and your American dream was important. You know, my family came here from Jamaica 80 years ago to do just that. So the least I can do is live my shit out loud. The least, the very least. Um, and I think that's where a lot of it comes from too. It's like, you know, I owe this to a whole lot of people that sacrificed for me to be here, to be able to do these things and stand tall and talk whatever I talk. But I think that I also feel that with that business, I learned I could pretty much do whatever I want if I create it and it's really strong and I have a good business model and there's a need for it. So I didn't feel limited by my business. Like I felt like it made me curious to do more things. And I still have that curiosity, you know, like if I could get 2 weeks off, I'd love to open a yogurt shop. You know, I feel like we can do so many great things. And so when I see people that are like serial entrepreneurs and they have so many businesses, I'm like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense. The thing with me is real estate can be so absorbing because it's like I've been fortunate enough to not necessarily have a cap and, you know, to feel like I mean, at times I've had more than 20 clients at a time. So I do spend a lot of time on real estate, but I don't feel limited by it in the way that I think you do when your entire day is dedicated to like one particular job. Like my job in real estate is negotiations, it's marketing, it's people meeting and, you know, interacting with people, it's networking, it's, you know, it's being on camera. It's like there's 12 different facets to what I do. And I like that. And I feel very free with that because then I can kind of like throw my energy in different ways and utilize my different skill sets. So I say that to say like both careers have been really good for me because as I've grown as a person and become more dynamic, my career has also become more dynamic. You know, like even adding television to this career has been fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
been
how
different.
has that been since the show came out? How has that impacted
Yeah.
how you navigate work now?
You know, it's interesting. Like I didn't really know what to expect, obviously. Like this is not my background, but I've had a positive um, you know, experience thus far. I feel that a lot of, like I said, a lot of women connected to me
Yeah.
and I feel that. I feel it's like a big hug. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to now be promoting what I do and who I am,
Yeah.
right? It's like these two different
Mhm.
things. Um, but it's just been wild in so many ways. Some of the experiences have been really strange, like it's just been crazy. But I'm excited about what's to come. And I do feel the need to take this opportunity and to do the most with it. I don't have an excuse not to propel my business. I don't have an excuse not to propel my brand. I don't have an excuse to not pursue all of my little dreams too. So it's kind of like a flashlight on things, because it's like, okay, what are you going to do with this? So that's where I'm at now, is figuring out the things I want to pursue now versus later. But I feel like the opportunities are limitless, and that's been exciting. It's also been really great for people to like write to me and reach out to me with just how inspired they are. There's this weird thing I have where no matter where I'm at, if you're a Black girl, like working in a service or retail space between the age of like 18 to 28, you know who I am. And it's so
I
weird.
love it.
And it's so weird,
Yeah.
but it's really beautiful, and it actually makes me very emotional because I remember that stage of my life. And I really wish I had someone to look to say, you will and you can.
Exactly.
And if I can be that, like that's kind of a great life gift, right? So I've really enjoyed that. But it's just interesting. Like I'll be like, at Aloe or Zara or, I'm always in a Sephora. And, they're like, you're Tricia, and then it ends up being like a little pep talk or whatever. But I want girls to know, like, I was behind the counter, like pushing foundations and concealers just like
You
you.
worked at MAC for a
Yeah,
long
I
time,
worked at
right?
MAC. I wish I would have worked at Sephora. They didn't have Sephora at that time, but I could work at Sephora today. I'll tell you that, because I know every product and every ingredient. But I worked at MAC. I always worked behind the counter in beauty, and I didn't have examples like that coming into my store to think to who I could work to be. And I see that like little shimmer in their eyes. It's really special. And I get really emotional. I have to like pull myself together. Like I have the interaction and I'm like, girl, like you can do it. Like be of value here. Be irreplaceable here. Give so much value here that you break out of here. Like I work in real estate the way I worked at MAC. Like there's no one that's worked with me. I don't care where I worked. That's not going to be like, oh, she's about her business. That one, oh, yeah, it could be a fundraising effort. They're like, oh, this one here, and I always tell girls that I'm like, listen, if you want to really know what the truth is just do work that you're proud of wherever you are, and it's like, if I'm at a gas station pumping gas this afternoon, everyone's going to be in line waiting for me. That's the work pride you need to have. And I love the opportunities to speak to what I consider to be the younger Tricia Lees, because I didn't have that. I never had that. I wish I did. And I've gone through a lot of my careers without mentorship. I'm lucky enough to have that now, but I didn't have it for a long time. So if I am viewed as a mentor, it's an honor, it's a privilege. I take it seriously. And there's no greater responsibility that I'd rather have on my shoulders than that responsibility, because it also is healing a part of me, because I know what it's like to feel like I can do so much more than what I'm doing now. And the truth is, you can, but you've got to come up with a plan. You've got to be great everywhere you are today. You have to be invaluable where you are today. You have to take ownership of where you are today. Like those are the habits and practices that you put into place at 18 and 19 and 20, that then you see as you move in your life how it activates your life and how it activates your presence and your role, and people know and they feel, they can't deny it.
Oh, yeah.
And lucky enough that like this generation is in a space where it's not as biased of an environment. People are more, I would say, open, liberal, tolerant, appropriate, and it's never going to be the same for us. It's far better than when I worked. It's far better than when I was working. I just had people that strictly hated me. It's just because I was a Black woman. And so I have to work from that space to prove who I am. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. And also know that no one else in the room, the space, the company, or the office has to deal with that. But you've got to show up and do that every day. It's like, it
Exhausting.
weighs on you. It weighs on you. Not that we don't still deal with that every day. I deal with that in my work often, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you touched on those habits of things that we can do in our careers and lives from where we are right now, because those are things that compound over
Hmm.
time of even if you're in a job that you hate or that you don't like, what can you take from it? What are the skills? What is it teaching you that you can apply to the next thing? I think sometimes people feel really discouraged if they're in a place in their career, in their life that they don't feel satisfied by in this moment. They feel like it's going to be that way forever. And understanding that it's not, and that there's something that you can take from every experience to prepare you for the next one has been one of my hardest but most valuable lessons for sure.
It's so important. It's so important because every experience is valuable. Like every job is valuable. Like I am in awe at the things I've learned along my professional course that allow me to shine and to perform today, but it's because I always cared about what I was doing and how I was doing it. And I think it's just so important. Like everyone's been in a dead end job. Everyone's been in a job that they don't love or a job that changes and they don't feel like they fit into anymore. But it's so important to be your own brand ambassador. Like a friend of mine was like, you started building your brand when you first moved to New York. And that's how I feel. Like when I was working for someone else, I was still building my brand. And those are the same people that I'm connected to today on LinkedIn. And if you were to ask any of them about me, they would be like, this makes sense for her because she always was this. You don't decide to be great when you have your own business. You decide to be great because you're great. And I would be great at flipping fries. I'd be great at making pizzas. I'd be great at I'd be great at everything. If I'm cooking you dinner tonight, I'm going to be great at that because it's important to me to create beautiful work. It's important to me to do well with the things I do, no matter what those things are. And I think that that's what more of us need to consider. It's not about where you are, it's about what you do and how you do it. That's it. And I've always taken great work pride in what I do. And my careers have changed, but I'm still that same person, even when I don't love it. I've still been like, it needs to be meticulous though. Like, tighten that up. Like, let's do, like whatever it is. It's just, I just can't represent myself that way. You know what I mean? I don't want to represent myself that way. And I think that no matter what you're doing, there are parts of my job that I don't love, but I'm still going to apply myself in those areas of my job because I owe myself that. You owe yourself to be invaluable in any environment where you work. You owe yourself that. You should leave that position and people be like, well, now what are we going to do? She's gone,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just so important. And I think that's the way you fight back. I think that's the way you grow out of a job. That's the way you're considered for promotions. That's the way you leave your mark. And that is important. That's what's really, really important. Not where you are, but who you are. Like if you're a boss, then be a boss. Be a badass boss that comes in here. You know everything. You know where everything goes. You have a plan. And when you're not here, everyone's lost. Be that wherever, That's what I say to anybody.
I love what you say about not playing fair. Is it T. Lee don't play fair?
Playing fair. I love that hashtag. So there was someone on Instagram and their name was like, John ain't playing fair. And I was like, I love that. I was like, I'm T. Lee. I'm not playing fair either. And my meaning for it is you should do so well, and it is what that you do that people just automatically think you're fucking cheating. She got to be cheating. What is she what's her advantage? Like, who does she know? Who gave her the notes? Like, that's always the goal. And not that that always happens, but the goal always is that you're so amazing, you must be cheating. What is it? Tell us, and that's what it is. And I use that hashtag, and I've used it forever just because I'm like, and another one, yeah. Like if I'm DJ Khaled, that's my. if I'm DJ Khaled, I'm literally like, and another one, because one, you need to see yourself that way and hype yourself that way,
Absolutely.
right? And number two, it's like, yeah, she can't be playing fair. Look at her, she keeps winning.
Yep.
She's cheating. And sometimes it's for me.
Yeah.
It's just for me to feel that and remind myself of that, So I giggle that things are put out there in the world, but really they're for me, right? Because we're the ones in the mirror in the morning with the affirmations, building ourselves up to fight another day.
Exactly.
And to power through our days. And yeah, like I ain't playing fair, or you're not gonna think so at least. I think everyone should use that hashtag.
I love it. I love it.
I do.
Absolutely. It's something
It's
I find
yours.
myself repeating to myself.
It's yours. She can't be playing fair. I think it's important, and that I want that to trickle off into how I live my life, the experiences I create for myself, for my family, how I do things. It's not just a birthday party. It's a birthday party that I planned. It's not just a cake. It's a cake that I baked. It's just not a marketing plan. It's a marketing plan that I put together. And it's not fair. It's so damn good.
Ugh, I love that so much.
I need it. I think we all need it,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tricia, this was amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining me today. I feel like you taught us just a masterclass in believing in ourselves and carrying out a vision for our own lives. And I think I needed this conversation probably more than anybody. And so I'm happy to share it. But to what we were just saying, I'm like, oh, I needed this. This
I
is
love
this is so
it. I
helpful for
love it. I
me.
hope you feel taller.
I do. I do. Please let our audience know where they can find you, where they can keep in touch with you.
So I am TriciaLee.com, TriciaLee.com. And then I'm on socials. I'm Love Tricia Lee everywhere. LOVE Tricia Lee. That's where my little love necklace.
Yes.
I've had this for I don't know how many years now, like 5 years. I have the word love tattooed all over my body, like literally on my fingers, the closest place here, right there. So Love Tricia Lee everywhere. I'm a broker at Sirhant. I run the team Tricia Lee. And you can usually find me at Sephora on my days off. That's
I love it. I'll probably run into you there sometime because I'm there a little too
always
much.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Amazing. Thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
me.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yay. And thank you all so much for tuning in. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you leave us a 5-star review on Apple, on Spotify. Make sure you're subscribed there so that you don't miss an episode. We drop new episodes every Tuesday. So make sure you're subscribed, tune in, share with a friend. Thank you again, and I will see you next week.